Well, good afternoon. The goal for today, as you notice, we're coming to you is new format, live and in color from my office at home. Hope this is going to work. We'll see. Obviously, since we're doing it in this format, I don't need to walk around the classroom like I've been doing to keep the lights from going off, as I did in the auditorium. So hopefully that won't be an issue here. I'm going to try to keep the videos a little shorter since we're not synced up with the slides and trying to do the presentation like we would do if we were in the classroom. I want to hit the highlights. Today we're going to talk about process design, process selection. Goes hand in hand with product design we talked about last time. Why is that? Because I need to think about what am I making, that product design, and how am I going to make it at the same time? Because I want to make sure that when I get through designing a product, I've got the way to make it. I don't want to tell the world, hey, I've got this great new product. This is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everybody's going to want it. Oh, I'm sorry. Time out, slight delay here. We aren't ready to make it yet. How embarrassing would that be? I got this great marketing campaign. All my advertising folks are doing advertising for this new product. And I tell the customer, oh, we're sorry, but we don't have a way to make it yet. So you're going to have to wait until we make it. My competitor's going to say, hey, I can make it right now. So I want to make sure I'm doing both of them at the same time. Process selection is the same importance whether I'm in manufacturing, academics, or in sports. So for a quick example, I'm using the exact same technique in the gym and pretty much the same workout now that I was using 30 years ago when I was squatting 840 pounds at a little heavier weight, a little younger, obviously. Not using the same weights I did before, but it's the same basic technique that I was using then. Because I'm a firm believer, if it works, don't screw with it. When it quits producing, then I'll modify the workout a little bit. When I do coaching for other athletes, if what's working for me doesn't work for them, then I modify it. Because it's not a one-size-fits-all technique for manufacturing or for working out. So I got to find the right process that actually works. The number one goal of process design is to reduce the lead time of the customer. The lead time is that point in time from when I say I need it till I've got it. I want to reduce that lead time to the customer. I want to get it to you as quickly as possible. If you think about our last discussions we had on product design, one of the goals was speed to market. How I'll make the product supports that speed to market concept. I've got to decide whether I want to be the first to market or the follower. The first to market does all the R&D work. The first to market does all the developing of the market and convincing the customer you got to have this particular product. They accept all the risk. The follower has the risk as well, though. When do I jump in the market? So, for example, here's my favorite analogy of this. There's a big, huge rock formation in Waimea Bay in Hawaii. In the summertime, it's no big deal. You jump off the rock in the water. It's like jumping into a lake because there's no waves. But in the wintertime, you have to time this just right. If you jump off too soon, you enter the market too soon, you spend the next 35, 40 seconds going, blah, 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 wham, smack on the beach. 3-4 pounds of sand in your swimsuit in places sand should never be. If you jump in just right, you enter the market just right, you catch the wave and you ride the wave all the way into the beach. You jump in too late, you miss the wave altogether, and you got to get out of there before the next wave comes in. Blah, 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 blah. So the key is you got to know when to time the market if you're going to be the follower. Very critical. I've got to relook the break-even point again. Wait a minute, Joe. We saw the break-even point in product design. If I'm not doing product design and process design simultaneously or concurrently, I've got to go back and redo the break-even point. Why is that? Because the process that I choose may change my break-even point. It may shift the cost in my favor or out of my favor. So I'm not going to do these two things together, process design and product design. I've got to go back and relook the break-even point again to make sure I haven't chosen a process that's going to change my costs and change the break-even point. I got to think about capacity. So there's three things that are kind of related here. And we touched a little bit on capacity. We talked about product design before. One of the considerations we'll look at in a few minutes is, do I have the capacity to make the product? But I need to consider the product design, the process design, how I'm going to make it, and the capacity I need based upon that break-even point and my forecast, how many I need to make. I got to balance those. It's kind of like a three-legged stool. If you ever sit on a three-legged stool and one leg shorter than the other, it kind of wobbles to one side. Well, I've got my customer sitting on top of this three-legged stool. I don't want the customer to wobble and fall off, because then I got to get a new customer, develop a new customer base. So I want to make sure when I'm doing my planning process, I'm looking at what I'm making, how I'm making it, and the capacity that I'm going to use to make it with, and keep those in balance so I can keep the customer happy. I got to think about how much money do I want to spend. Maybe I don't want to spend a lot of money. Maybe this is where I make the decision again that my core competency is designing products, not making products. How flexible do I want to be? One of my concerns I always had when Harley-Davidson was here in Kansas City, and one of the things I think that drove Harley-Davidson out of Kansas City was their process was not flexible. They had three basic assembly lines. I can't make a Sportster on the Dyna line. So when demand for one model of bikes went down and demand for the other went up, they couldn't just shift the manufacturing to the other line. They weren't flexible lines. The more flexible my process is, the better I can shift what I'm doing to meet the needs of the customer. So for example, right now, while we're starting to cut grass, well, maybe not today since it's chilly outside, we're starting to cut grass. Toro is making snow blowers on the same assembly line as they're making lawnmowers in the wintertime. It's flexible enough they can do that, and they're similar enough in nature they can do that and keep that assembly line working year round. I got to do some make or buy decisions. Again, I got to decide if making the product is something my company can do. And there's several considerations. I got to look at these holistically. Can somebody do it cheaper? Yeah, probably. Almost anything you want made, somebody can make it cheaper. But the question with the cost is, can they make it less costly? Not necessarily cheaper, but less costly, with the same quality our customers expect from us. Do we have the capacity to make it? Back to that three-legged stool. Maybe we don't have the capacity and we're not willing to spend the money to add the capacity to make the product. But somebody else already has this capacity, so we're going to allow them to do it for us instead of spending our money to increase the capacity. Can somebody do it faster? Probably. Again, back to like with the cost. Almost anything you want made, somebody can make it cheaper, can make it faster. But it ties back to that quality again. If it's made faster, is it the same quality their customers expect? Let me give you a quick example of that. Back in the, I don't know, early 90s, maybe, mid 90s, Sears decided to outsource the manufacturing of Craftsman tools. Craftsman has a lifetime warranty. If it breaks, bring it back. I've seen examples where people have brought tools back that are 30 years old. They finally broke, they brought it back and they got exchanged for free. But when they outsourced it to another country who could make it cheaper and faster, they found out the quality wasn't the same. And the number of returns went up. So they had to bring it back in-house. Unfortunately, by then, the damage had been done. It took a while to recover that brand reputation for the Craftsman tools. Can they make it with the same reliability? A reliability, availability, maintainability concept. Can they make it with the same reliability that we would if we made it ourselves, that our customers expect from us? Do we have the expertise to make it? Remember we said one of the discussions in product design was, do I have that strategic technical expertise in my company to make the product? Maybe this again is where I make that decision that designing products is my core competency, but not making them. Do they have the expertise to make it? Or do they just have the expertise to put together proposals? So I gotta make sure that if I'm outsourcing it, they've got the expertise as well. And I gotta think about things such as proprietary data. Do I want to release that so that everybody knows what my data is or my formula is? Think about the Coke formula. If you are a Coke bottler anywhere in the world, Coke gives you the syrup, and they sell you, well, they sell you the syrup, and they sell you the carbonated water, and they tell you the mixture of how much syrup to how much carbonated water to get the Coke formula right. They don't give you the formula itself. They consider it proprietary data. They don't want to share it with everybody in the world. I need to think about my process plans. There's three key things I want to look at here that are kind of unique to our discussions of operations management. And if you look at the slide deck that goes along with this presentation, you'll see three pieces on the process plan slide that are in red. Those three pieces make up what I call the recipe card. Every product's got them. If you look up a fancy recipe for a cake online, it's got a picture of what it looks like. It's got the ingredients that I need. It's got the instructions and the sequence I got to follow the instructions. Same thing with those pieces in red. The bill of materials is just a fancy set of operations management terms for the ingredients. Put together some equipment last week for the gym. It had a list of ingredients. Inside this box are the following things. That's the bill of materials. It had a picture of what it looked like when it was finished. And it had instructions of how to put it together. The assembly chart is the picture of what this product looks like when it's finished. And the routing sheet, that last thing on the slides in red there, the routing sheet is simply the instructions, the sequence of events I got to follow. Putting together the equipment for the gym, I had a certain sequence of events. Do this, then do this, then do this. If you're baking a cake, got the instructions. You take these ingredients, you mix them together, you blend for so long, you preheat the oven to a certain temperature, you pour the batter into a pan, you put the pan in the oven for a certain amount of time, you let it cool a certain amount of time, and then you put the frosting on. And it's got a picture of what it looks like when it's finished. It's the same thing. The bill of materials for that cake is the ingredients. The assembly chart is that picture of what the cake looks like when it's finished. And the routing sheet is the instructions, and I got to follow them in the right sequence. If I don't break the eggs and put them in there and blend it up, and then try to pour all this non-blended stuff into the pan, it's not going to bake right. If I try to blend it right, put it in the pan, but I didn't preheat the oven, it's not going to cook right. So I got to follow the routing sheet in sequence, make sure I'm finishing the job in the right sequence. If I want to improve the process, the first thing I got to do is walk the process. I've got to physically walk the process. Remember I told you before in the course that studies show that about 80% of what you learn as an undergrad, you're going to forget within the first couple of years after graduating. If you remember nothing else from this course, here's what I want you to remember. I'm very serious when I say this. To fix any process in any aspect of business, in any operation, the first thing you've got to do is physically walk the process. Seek first to understand what's going on before you try to fix it. Why are we doing it? Why are you doing it that way? Is there a better way to do it? And document what you're doing. So in the slides, there's a documentation of walking the process and what goes on in making applesauce. And by doing that documentation and coming up with the flow of what was going on, we're able to identify in that flow chart non-value-added steps. If you look at that slide in the slide deck, you'll see it. We've got multiple movements. It comes in, we move it, we weigh it, we move it, it waits, There's no value added in waiting. We move it again, we do something, we move it again. By walking the process, we're able to identify those non-value added steps. They're adding cost, but not adding value. Keeping in mind that everything we do in business, every activity, every process adds cost. Not every activity adds value. If it doesn't add value, why do it? It's costing us money. If I can get rid of it, that's an immediate impact to the bottom line profits. I want to vary my entry point as a way of looking at the process. If you always see the same thing, you never see anything different. Vary your entry process, vary your thought process. Darrell Waltrip, famous NASCAR driver, said, the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing in the same way and expecting different results. Vary your entry point. Do some thinking, draw some analogies. When I was in the Army, I thought nothing of putting on coveralls, crawling underneath vehicles that were being worked on to see what we were doing. What were the steps we were using to fix the vehicles? And if it wasn't working, we'd find a better way of doing it. I thought nothing of getting on a forklift and driving a forklift around to load and unload trucks to get a feel for different conditions and different stuff coming in had to be handled differently, so I could explain why some days we were more productive than other days. Use the smart people in your organization to help you brainstorm what's going on. One of the ways that's out there now that can help improve operations is a radio frequency identification tag. Now there's two kinds of tags. There's an active tag. These tags are about the size of your cell phone and getting smaller. Unlike cell phones, are getting bigger. They're always on. I can read these things from like 300 feet away. They're great for tracking stuff. In fact, it gave me visibility in the supply chain when I was in Kuwait. I was able to go into the system and see exactly where something was based upon the RFID tag attached to that shipment. So I knew when it left the distribution center. I knew when it left Charleston Air Force Base. I knew when it landed in Kuwait. I knew when it left the airport. I knew when it came in the front gate of my distribution center. I could track it through the entire system using these RFID tags. Great piece of equipment, but they're very expensive. The other kind of tags are called passive tags. The passive tag is about the size of a dot from a laser printer, or excuse me, from a laser pointer. On a dot the size of a flake of dandruff, I can put a stock number, a date of manufacture, a country of origin, a expiration date, and if it's a repair part, the end item that it goes to, all on that little dot. But I can only read it within 12 to 18 inches for most RFID tags. And I got to wand it, and it'll tell me on my reader what's on the tag. These things can be turned off. In fact, in California, there's a law that says if you buy a product with an RFID tag in it, you've got to be informed it's got one, and you've got to be given the right to have it turned off for privacy issues. Which means whatever benefit they're trying to gather from that RFID tag, they can't get. They can track my cell phone. The state of Kansas is tracking where I go on my cell phone now to determine if my trips outside my house are critical or not. But people are concerned about the RFID tag invading their privacy. Go figure that one out. Another way I can improve the operation is through robotics. One of the things that's working well in distribution centers is a thing called the Kiva system. Kiva system is about, I don't know, about 2 feet long, about 18 inches wide, and about 8 or 9 inches tall. It picks up the rack in the distribution center and takes it to the worker. Why is that important? Studies show that the average distribution center worker walks about the distance of Philadelphia to New York about 9 times a year, walking around distribution centers, picking products to be packed and shipped. By using this Kiva system, it brings the product to the distribution center worker. He or she picks it off of the rack, puts it in a box, hits a button, it goes away, another rack shows up. Reduces wasted walking time and increases productivity. So look at the slides, glance through the reading, Keep in mind that I need to do process design simultaneously or concurrently with product design, because I want to make sure that what I'm designing I can make. So these things have to be concurrent, have to be simultaneous. If not, then I got to go back and relook the break-even point. Until I see y'all again, hopefully I'll see you around the halls of CapFed this fall. So until I see you again, I'm gonna keep on beating this idea home. Stay smart, stay disciplined. I know it's a little tougher to do the education process this way than it is in the classroom, because the classroom gives you a little more discipline for most people. So I know it's a little more difficult. Stay focused, stay disciplined, stay engaged, stay smart, and stay well. The smarter we are, the quicker we're going to come out of this. And stay social. Reach out to people. Saw a study this morning that said that there's an increase in the number of calls to the Veterans Administration mental health line because people are having trouble being locked up, quarantined, sheltered at home. Be social. Reach out to folks. See how they're doing. Give them a call. Send them a text. Send them an email. See how they're doing. Check on those folks that are important to you. Have a great day. See you soon.